Okay. Good morning, everyone. How are you today? My name is Praise for Where. I'm so excited to be with you today. Okay. Now, this is Pfthinks. I do this every morning. I think it's the first time I will be going live on Instagram, for this same show. Okay. So my Instagram audience, you are welcome. It's my first time with you, but Facebook people, we've been together for about 21 days. Okay. So we're used to how this works. Okay. So um, today we've been looking at superior relationship skills, basically rules of engagement, and I've been sharing from my book titled The Eight Lines of Work. You know, that if you don't understand the rules of engagement in your sector, you will miss out on a lot of things. So, my Instagram audience, I just joined in for the first time. This is day 21. If you go on my YouTube page, if you subscribe at Praise for We're Live, you will find the last 21 episodes for the last 20 episodes of this early morning mind transformation session, which I've titled PF Thinks, right? So we've been doing this for 21 days on Facebook. I just decided to join our Instagram audience today. Now, so far we've looked at the like the 6 lines or 5 lines. So we've looked at your upline, which is a relationship with the people above you. We've looked at your downline, your relationship with the people below you. We've looked at the peer line, your relationship with the people at your level, your colleagues. We've looked at your real line, your relationship with the customers. We've looked at your outline yesterday, which is your relationship with um, your competitors. And yesterday, remember what I told you about how to deal with competitors, that your competitors are not your enemies. Your competitors are your complements. I told you that your competitors are there to prevent complacency. Your competitors aid your creativity and help you render better services. They are there to bring out the best in you. And I told you, never compete, be the standard, set the pace, outdo, overperform, outstand and draw applause. And I said, don't compete. Today, we look at the landline, which is your relationship with the organizational policy. Now, in my entire years of training corporate organization, I have realized that an average staff has never gone through the SOP of the organization, right? A lot of people have never gone through the policy of the organization they work for. I was training a company earlier this year before the COVID lockdown. By the way, I'm sure you can see what happened yesterday about the COVID. When the moment they released, they eased the lockdown. Right, that is the behavior of the African. Right, so we wanted to copy the Swedish model. Right, without being Swedes. Right, because the Swedish people are already used to discipline. They're already used to following instruction. They're already used to a measure of excellence. But we try to copy the same, not minding the reality of our people. You can see, I am so scared right now because it's looked like the cases are going to become something else, right? We have every reason to be afraid right now. Now, back to what I want to share. Right, so today we're looking at the landline. The landline is your engagement with the organizational policy. Every land has got rules and regulation. So for example, if you work in a particular company and you go to another company, there's a tendency for you to want to bring the mentality of the organization you used to work for to a new organization. So, for example, if you work in the telecom sector, you used to work for MTN and you're moving to Airtel, there is a tendency to bring your manner, your way of life from MTN to Airtel. If you come with that approach, everything Airtel is doing may irritate you. You will run into problem because you will keep complaining about anything, forgetting that the rules at Airtel is totally different from the rules in MTN. And a lot of us do that. You get into a new space, you don't even bother to sit down to understand how that land operates. You begin to criticize, not knowing that you say culture is already formed already, and you can't change a culture except you go the extra mile to begin to interface and begin to influence the culture. And to influence the culture is a long way process. So the same way it's so tough to influence the culture in the northern part of Nigeria to say, sit down at home, don't go to prayers on Friday. They don't understand what you're talking about. You're even telling them Saudi Arabia has locked down. They don't understand it because their culture is totally different. I say to people that religion rests on the culture it meets on ground. If religion gets into a nation and that nation is already used to an excellent culture, that religion will take the shape of that culture, so it will produce an excellent religion. If, however, the culture is already emotional and the culture is already a mediocre culture, when religion comes, religion will rest on the mediocrity of that culture and it will produce a mediocre religion. That's why Christianity is different in Nigeria to Christianity in the US or Christianity in Japan. That's why Islam in Nigeria and Islam in United Arab Emirates are two different ball games entirely. So the same way, you need to understand that there are rules of engagement. Every land has rules and regulation. Every organization you work for has rules and regulation. The same way every nation has got rules and regulation. Even when you're transacting business with two different people, they have rules and regulation. You need to understand the rules of engagement. Rules differ from land to land. What is acceptable elsewhere may not be acceptable here. Like in Nigeria, you can evade tax and go scot-free. In the US, if you avoid or evade tax, you may go to jail, right? So what is acceptable in the previous organization you work for may not be acceptable in the new organization you want to work for. Now, the landline of an organization is your constitution, your operational constitution. If you don't read it and you go against it, ignorance is not an excuse in law. You are prosecuted based on your understanding of the rules of engagement in a particular land or the landline of the organization you work for. Now, you need to ask a basic question. Now, there is COVID and everyone is locked down. You would realize that a lot of staff even though they are still earning salary, they are focused on their own personal agenda at the expense of the organizational agenda. So I was running a session for an organization yesterday on Zoom, and one of the questions the HR asked me is that, praise, how do we reconcile this, that we're still paying our staff money, but they are using our time at home? They think it's a holiday. They are not even seeing it as the need to work for the organization while on the lockdown. They are working for themselves, doing their thing on social media. They are not selling the products of the organization, yet they expect us to pay them. Now, she said to me that meanwhile, they don't know that in the SOP, it's already written there that within the time frame, irrespective of where you are actually supposed to be working for the organization. So when they fire them, they will start to shout and start to scream. They are not considerate, but they don't know that they are violating the ethos of the organization. An HR person was supposed to recruit a particular person one time, and the person was applying for the position of some position like that, like senior manager or something, business development. So they had to go on all his stated social media handles, and there's been nothing on there's been nothing on business development there. It's either some funny pictures or other pictures, and they concluded that this person is not passionate about business development, that if you are passionate about something, it will show up in every area of your life, including your social media handle, including your LinkedIn. So even on LinkedIn, people are posting, their backside. People are posting things. They don't understand that the future HR managers are checking out for some of these things. Now, so the question you must ask when it comes to Landline is, if your promotion is going to be based on your adherence to organizational policy, will you go very far? So I was training an organization early in the year, 230-man staff. I got into the training room and I asked a simple question. I asked all of them to bring out a sheet of paper and write out the vision of the organization. I asked them to write out the vision of the organization, word for word. This is something that has been placed on their wall. This is something they pass by every day. This is something probably when they got into the organization, they've been taking through it in their training school, in their induction or acculturation program. Guess what? Out of over 230-man staff, only 5 could write the vision of the organization word for word. Others, some didn't remember. Others wrote their own version. So I fed the organization back to say that You guys don't have a vision here, right? I always said, I worked for a few organizations before I left paid employment, and I always work for vision. If your vision does not resonate with me, I will not work for you. No matter whatever you are offering, that's a personal decision. It may not work for you. Now, and for every organization I work for, I carry the vision on my head. I embody the vision and the values and the ethos of the organization, because the people don't know when you work for them and when you don't work for the organization. What they know is you, right? They may not know your MD, but they know you, which is why if you're a banker and you're on your street, they'll start calling you bank manager. If you work for Access Bank or you work for any other bank in Nigeria, if you misbehave on the street, your bank is misbehaving. That's why, imagine you got into a bus and you begin to fight the bus conductor, and now you want to open an account. The bus conductor wants to open an account, walks into your branch, and you are the one he met. He's going to walk away, which is why a lot of organizations, they place their weakest links at the gate, right? So they have some guys at the gate who are like glorified area boys who are begging, right? And they will say, oh, we outsource our security. If you outsource your security, your brand is being messed up. People are turning back without entering your business or to transact business with you, because there is a culture at your gate that is turning them back. So if you don't pay attention to every part of your culture, there will be culture diffusion and someone can totally mess you up. So that organization, even though they have 230-man staff, only 5 could write the vision, only 5 understood the vision. So when I met the MD, I began to ask a question. I said, do staff still here? Are you realizing that you are losing a whole lot? And she said to me, Praise, how did you know? I said, because only 5 of your people understood your vision. When over 225 who work for you does not understand the vision, they will create their own version of the vision. They will bring in their own culture. So the thief will bring in the culture of theft. The mediocre will bring the culture of mediocrity. There will be a lot of gossip within the organization. Whenever I say gossip within the organization, it's a culture, right? It's a virus within the system. It's going to spread very fast. So people need to understand these basics to know that if you don't form your culture, other culture will form you. As a matter of fact, the biggest impediment to the growth of your organizational culture is the culture of the environment where your business is domiciled. For some of you who own a business, you would realize that you want to build an excellent organization, but the culture of Nigeria is interfering, fighting vigorously with the culture you want to instill, because the people you are going to hire are products of Nigeria. So they are going to try to force their own culture. So the person who loves to fight in the party is going to try to bring that into your training. The person who loves to gossip is going to try to bring that, because you are recruiting the people from within. Have you noticed that when you take Japanese to another environment or Indians to another environment, they are going to turn the environment to suit themselves, to suit their culture. They are going to bring in all kinds of things, the way their houses are structured. They are going to bring everything in, right? That is how culture works, right? So the greatest challenge to your organizational culture is the culture of the environment where your business is domiciled. So if you're working for an organization and you don't know the vision of the organization, you don't understand the values of the organization, you don't understand the culture and the ethos of the organization, you have no business working for that organization. So for you to thrive in any organization, you need to understand the culture and interface with the culture and believe in the culture and promote the culture of the organization. So if the culture of the organization is corruption, you cannot bring righteousness into their corruption. You cannot bring it. It's not going to work, right? You are just going to be frustrated out. Why? Because the culture is already said the rules of engagement in this land is corruption, which is why, it's laughable for me when I see a lot of Nigerians pretending that Nigeria is Israel. So they want to enforce the rule of Israel, or they want to enforce the rule of America in Nigeria, right? We can't fool ourselves. The culture of Nigeria is embedded, is built on corruption. You go to any secretariat, you want to get any project done, right? You would realize that there will be people who will ask you for stuff. So sometimes I tell my clients that, you know what, maybe what you need to do is to build into your organizational policy, to say that 20% is finder's fee at whatever level. Anybody that brings you business or whatever, you can put it in organizational policy. transparency so that it doesn't look like corruption, because that is the culture of the environment where you are domiciled. Everybody's asking for kickback. So you better legalize it and put it in your organizational culture, right? So you would realize that it's almost tough to pass a file from one place to the other in some government parastatals without greasing fingers. And and that's the way it is. When a system is set, an unrighteous system will make a godly man look ungodly, but a righteous system will make an ungodly person look godly. The UK system, for example, is built on that ethos, which is why you see public officers resign, for not retiring funds, right? So even unrighteous people will pay tax in the UK because the system monitors you. But Nigeria is very loose a little bit. So even righteous people will begin to reason out why they shouldn't pay full tax. And that's what happens in our nation, because you begin to ask yourself, what exactly does government do for me, right? So you realize that you need to understand the rules of engagement. If you check the book of Esther in the Bible, you will see that when it was time for Esther to be made queen, she had to go through beauty pageant, she had to parade herself, and she had to go for one night with the king in his chambers. One night with the king was not prayer meeting, was not night vigil. Of course, you can use your mind to figure out whatever it was, right? But that was the rules of engagement in Babylon, where she was operating. That will never have happened in Israel. A king will never have asked queens to parade themselves for him to choose a queen. But in Babylon, it was permissible, right? Because that was the rules of engagement. You cannot bring the rules of Israel into Babylon. It's not going to work, because that culture is already set. So wherever you find yourself, you need to open your eyes and find out the rules of engagement. So you see Nigerian. A lot of people think they are righteous, never find their way into government positions, right? They never find their way into presidency. They never become governors. Even though they are righteous, they have the capacity, because they hold onto their purist nature, not knowing that in Nigeria, you need to match your purist with pragmatic to form what we call pragmatic puritanism, which means it's contact without contamination. You need to be able to interface with the system, look like them, even though you are not of them, right? So when you want to deal with the landline of any organization, what do? It's called respect. Respect the ethos of the organization you're working for. Don't try to change it. Respect it for now until you now get to a position of power that you can alter it, right? E, the alphabet E, enjoy. Right? So sometimes people look at a righteous person who is working for a wicked person and they tell him, resign. You don't have to resign, especially when you have a long-term vision. Nehemiah in the Bible was serving wine for several years, over 21 years, before the king could consider him fit enough to be given a diplomatic passport to go and rebuild the wall of Jerusalem. Now, some of you will not take that job at all, right? So you need to understand the rules of engagement. To take power from evil, sometimes you may need to work for evil, serve evil. Evil must trust you. Evil must then hand power over to you. When evil now hands power over to you, you have absolute power, then you can effect changes. A lot of people are trying to effect changes without even understanding the rules of engagement. A young man, one of my mentees, engaged me, and he said, Praise, how can we build the Nigeria of our dreams? I told the young man, forget about building Nigeria of your dream. Go and build your personal economy. Go and build your immediate environment. Forget Nigeria now. You are not qualified to even be talking about Nigeria, because when election time comes, you don't have 10 billion to put down, right? Because the people who are going to vote, these are people who have not passed the level of survival. And people who have not passed level of survival, we think about their belly before any other thing, right? So you don't have 10 billion to waste, right? Don't even think about, go and face your personal economy. Stop talking about a new Nigeria, right? The guy went away disappointed. He didn't believe so I told him, I have observed patterns. Patterns are predictors of future. People who never learn from history have not learned anything. That was why when Nigeria was going to ease the lockout, I went into history. To 1918, what happened? I realized that what happened was that Lagos alone lost about 500,000 people by this same behavior we have exhibited. So you will see corona spike in the days to come. This one is not about, God forbid, it will not happen. It's the behavior. History has shown us this has happened before, right? And the behavior has not changed. So the behavior will produce the same result, given the same circumstances. So respect it. So when you see a good man work for an evil person, you need to find out what is this guy up to. Behold, I send you out as sheep among wolves. The favorite meat of food of wolves is sheep. So how do you survive? You need to disguise, contact without contamination, right? So even if you don't want to interact with evil people, but you want the power that evil people wield, you are deceiving yourself. It's not going to work. So enjoy it. You need competence for them to even be considered you to be brought into government. It's either you are the best in your field or you have a superior relationship skills with them. They think they want to use you, so you are serving them. They think they are using you, but you are warming your way into their heart till they can trust you and hand over absolute power to you. S in the respect, support and suggest. Support and suggest. That's the way to influence. Suggest it. Don't insist on it. If they don't carry it out, don't get angry. Don't get upset. Just suggest it. Someday we'll find expression. P, protect the rules of engagement in any organization you work for. The policy, protect it and promote it. E, get excited about it. Carry it on your head. I love Taribo West. Every team he worked for, he painted his hair to reflect the colors of that team. If he played for Inter Milan, he wore the color of Inter Milan on their head. If he played for Nigeria, it's called the law of rapport. The people will take into you almost immediately. C, cultivate the rules of engagement in any organization you work for. T, translate it into result. So RESPECT, R, respect it, enjoy it, support and suggest, protect and promote, get excited about it, cultivate the rules of engagement in the organization you work for, then translate into result. What must you not do? What must you not do? Don't fight it. Don't fight the rules of engagement. Don't fight it. F. Don't import your own and ignore it. You have worked for a previous organization. You know the culture. You are trying to bring the culture of Israel into Babylon. Babylon is going to frustrate you because Babylon will tell you this is not our way here. Our way is our queens parade themselves and our queens go to the chamber of the king to go and be testosterone before they are eligible. When the king finds you committed or you have satisfied the king, he can choose you as the queen. Now that will never work in Israel, but that is the rule of engagement in Babylon. Without that, you are not eligible for anything. So at that level, right and wrong was suspended. Peace and progress was activated because the Jews must not be exterminated. A Jew must find herself in power, and that was what happened. So you need to understand this. Even it happened with Jesus. Jesus came to die. He was not a sinner. He never committed a sin, but mankind must be salvaged. The only thing that can save mankind is for someone to die, aka ritual killing, right? So Jesus had to die. He never needed to die. That violates right and wrong, but for peace and progress, that is the only way. So never fight it, never import or ignore it. G, don't go against it. H, don't hinder it, and don't trash it. Now, you need to understand that there are about 3 or 4 things your organization expects from you. 1, your organization expects you to help them make more money. 2, they help you to help them save more money. 3, your organization expects you to help them improve their market share. And number 4, they expect you to help them improve their brand. Make more money, save more money, improve their market share, increase their market share, improve their brand. Those are the 4 things your organization expects from you. So what is it that your organization expects from you? What is your company's vision, their mission, and their core values? Who are the policy makers? You might want to, if you want to change the policy, you better start interfering or interfacing with them, right? What part of the policy are you struggling with? What must you do to influence the policy makers? Once you learn to influence the policy makers, then you can influence the policy. How can I build an organization that I would love to have as a parting gift on my retirement day? That's the most important question you need to ask yourself. Let me end today by telling you a story. And a man who was a builder was building for an organization for several years. Very faithful, committed. He never stole, right? But his salary was the same. On the day he was to be retired, the organization told him, we're going to retire you this year. We're going to give you your gratuity, but please help us build one more house. The guy thought to himself, I've been building houses for free all these years. Honesty never pays. I'm still poor. So he shortchanged. The house was supposed to cost about 25 million, thereabout, right? The guy bought substandard materials. He shortchanged the company, kept about 10 million to himself, just kept 10 million because he felt this is my last chance to make money from here, right? So he delivered the house, painted it very well, but it was a house that would collapse in 3 years. Guess what? On his retirement day, the organization, the MD came out and said, we want to thank this man who has worked with us for 20 years. As it was going, we were thinking of any gift to give to him. We could not think of no other gift. So we hereby hand over the last house you built to you as our parting gift for you, for your loyalty to the organization. The guy collapsed and he passed out. You know why? Because he did not understand that you need to be consistent in all your ways at all times. So guys, you have these rules of engagement. You need to understand that many people fail because they don't pass the test of the rules of engagement. There's a rule of engagement for the lady you want to get married to. Even in marriage, there's the rules of engagement to keep your spouse totally attracted to you for the rest of your life. In your organization, there's the rules of engagement. In the country you belong to, there's a rule of engagement. Once you obey and respect the landline, is called omonile. Once you say twali, this is what works here, and you respect the rules of engagement in the land. If you have absolute power, you can alter it. Without absolute power, there is nothing you can do against it. You can only interface with it. I believe you're going to win today. Go ahead, guys, and win. I'll see you tomorrow, and we'll go to day 22. If you are just joining us, this is my early morning show. It's been day 21, right? So you can go on my YouTube page, Praise Forward Live, and subscribe and watch the previous episode. By the way, on Friday, I'm having a webinar by 8 p.m. Nigerian time, right? I'm going to be teaching things on how to build a post-COVID family system. If you go on my bio, you will see the link there. If you go on my Facebook page, the link is there as well. Please register. It's going to be explosive. I'm going to be teaching you some of the tactical skills, the future of the family, what the family is going to look like post-COVID, and how to position yourself, because the era of emotional family is gone. We now need to activate tribal ideology. That's the only way to save your children, using the power of the perceptual code. I'm going to be teaching that on Friday. Make sure you register. Don't miss that webinar. Tell all your friends, right? We are open to host a large group of people. I hope to see you there. Thank you very much. I love you. My name is Praise Forward. I'm signing out right now. Have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.